Thank you so much, Jimmy Nelson. It is really a great pleasure to have you with us and talk about the foundation, your new program for children. I would love to hear more. You have published this fantastic book. Your work is really, it's all about attention to detail. And this book, Homage to Humanity, is one of the most beautiful books you can have to look at these cultures that are literally vanishing before our eyes. Please do tell us, how did you come with the idea for the book, and how are you translating this for the educational program that you are developing for children, school-age children?
First of all, thank you very much for your compliments. It's a thrill at the age of 52 that we meet like this, that you see, understand, and feel, and I can resonate my passion with the message that I'm trying to communicate. It's the biggest compliment that there is. But the journey started a long time ago, essentially 52 years ago. For the first 7 years of my life as a child, if you can imagine the children I'm trying to communicate with today, I had the life. I was like Mowgli. I grew up in the developing world. My father was a geologist working for an oil company, but he was at the very initial stage of exploration. So we went to some of the world's wildest and most remote locations. So my childhood was, I was given the world in all its beauty and all its purity at a very early age. So it touched me. Then between the ages of 7 and 17, I was taken out of that environment and put in an old English boarding school with Catholic Jesuit priests. At the age of 16, because I was talking about a ritual, I was becoming from a child to a man, I had a lot of stress because I'm a very creative, very sensitive, very almost androgynous personality. And I was beginning to try and reconnect to my being. I was becoming a young man. I was beginning to feel things. And as a result of this, my hair fell out in one day. It's called alopecia totalis. So I woke up one morning and I thought, this is not fair. I feel bad, I think bad, and now I look bad. I was 16. So at the age of 17, when I finished my high school, I ran away. And I ran away to Tibet for 2 years in 1986, 1985. Inspired by Tintin. I used Tintin as a child as my avatar. So I hid with him under my covers away from these horrible priests, and I escaped into his world. His world was adventure. His world was discovery. His world was connection. His world was the world I knew when I was 7. And I thought, where can I go that Tintin went, that people look like me? And that was the little bald monks in Tibet. So for 2 years, from 1985 to 1987, I walked the length of Tibet. I got access to a part of the world that had been shut for 30 years. The Chinese have come in and gone. There used to be 660 monasteries. When I got there, there were 3 left, but the rest of the world had closed their eyes to what was happening in Tibet, deciding economics are more important than culture. 2 years later, I came out, and I'd taken 4 rolls of Kodacolor Gold film with me. I'd never taken a picture before. But I filled up those rolls, rationed over a period of 2 years, with portraits of the people that were kind to me, the people that fed me, the people that taught me, the people that protected me, maybe the people that loved me. As a result, when I was 19, I came back alive, and for the first time in my teenage years, breathing, beginning to feel a validity. There are people in the world who look like me. There are people in the world who see me. There are people in the world who feel me. There are people in the world who will help me and maybe even love me despite all my feelings. And to consolidate that human meeting of connection and love, I took the picture. But it was a very specific picture. It was a picture of gratitude. It was a picture of dignity. It was a picture of respect. Because I was not better. I was less. I was broken. And traditionally, we as white, developed, middle-aged human beings, we stand tall and we look down. I went in and I put myself on the ground and looked up saying, help me. And in that process of helping, that's the way I make the connection. That's also the way I make the picture. So 35 years later, at the age of 52, That's what I still do today. I arrive at a community that I believe is richer. I believe is wiser. I believe has more insight. I believe is almost maybe the superheroes. It's not something created by Marvel with CGI. There are human beings in the world. If you want to see them in a dignified, respectful way, if you value their identity and their culture and their worth as rich, then of course they look as beautiful as they do in my pictures. In the same way, when we have a cover of Vogue or Elle, that's not how we wake up looking on Saturday morning. That's who we aspire to look like. But we allow ourselves in the developed world to be this beautiful, but it's not reality, but we never question it. But suddenly a group of indigenous cultures are seen as beautiful. Oh, this is too complicated. This is too painful. They can't look this good. They can't be this happy. They can't have bodies like gods. They can't look rich when they have no money. Oh, yes, they do. It depends on how you look at them. It depends on how you connect with them, and it depends on how you respect them. So 35 years later, by accident, I'm not an anthropologist or ethnologist or a journalist or a reporter. I'm a human being that was rich, was broken, and has decided to reconnect with my richness of my validity and my entity as self through the eyes of these indigenous cultures. And that's what it is. And that's why it is only art. It is subjective. It is my perspective of how I feel when I connect with these people. The beauty is their beauty, not my beauty. You complimented me at the beginning. You said, thank you. It's very...
It takes a certain kind of sensibility in order to look at their beauty. And you know, because you stage so beautifully the photographs. I know, there is one particularly where you tell the story actually in one TED talk about this group in, I believe, Niger or Kenya?
In Ethiopia, in the tree.
Ethiopia. Yeah. So that the beautiful, you set this beautiful stage with the people in a tree, right? Beautifully. And then at one point, the light goes and there is an incident and you cannot take the photograph that day. But there is something about the way your eyes go over people, right? That makes it so fantastic for us here that are sitting in our homes. We can actually open that beautiful book or look into the app. You have an app too that goes virtual augmented reality application.
What is very beautiful, the first book I made.
About even the photographs too.
Yeah. The first book I made before they passed away in 2014, there was a lot of discussion. Who are these people? They don't exist. It's not real. It's all fake. It's all Photoshop. Homage to Humanity was made to validate two things. One, to return to many of the communities saying, this is what I took from you. Here are your pictures. Secondly, to give them a voice. Who are you? How do you see? How do you live? What do you want? How do you see me? And then thirdly, using the digital accessibility of the app, which is for free. Everybody and anybody in the world can have the app. Wherever you see the picture, in the book, on a wall, on a screen, on a laptop, on a smartphone, the app will activate the picture and take you on a far bigger journey. If you look at the book is only 10% of what you get. 90% is the digital interactivity, which is for free. This has never been done before. So every picture we now hang, every book you with your smartphone, which we all have, you gain access to who they are, to who I am, to see how I feel. And again, the content is not scientific. The content is emotional.
Right. I think it's beautiful in the sense also because you look at the photographs in fashion magazines, in Vogue magazine, right? Vanity Fair, you have this beautiful set stage showing the craziness, the beauty, the youthfulness of the Western culture and the Western fashion world, and also how they borrow from other different cultures at times, right?
Completely.
you have that in your book. What I love is because there's this sense too, you know, also they have this beautiful, you know, aesthetics that we need to show, and that they are very special. Maybe they don't wear those every day, but just like we don't wear every day a Balenciaga or a Dior when we show up on, you know, Western show in Vogue. You have that same sense, you know, let's make it like just so amazing, so beautiful. And, you know, let's bring them to a spot where the light is just perfect. The other thing which I think is fascinating, you don't work with artificial lighting. You work usually with the lighting in the environment. So you really have to capture those moments, right?
It's thank you for seeing this and feeling it. It's very special to hear that you understand. It's like a, you can imagine it's like being a composer. Now, a composer can play a guitar and have one singer, or a composer can be Mozart and have an orchestra of 2,000 and a choir of 300. You still play the same tune, but the tune that Mozart will play has so many layers. It's so complicated and so difficult. And if it succeeds, it resonates deep into your soul. What I'm trying to do visually is make the most complicated picture imaginable. The last untouched, most remote natural environments in the world at their most beautiful. Weather and light at its most complicated. Indigenous communities standing with groups and often with animals, with power and dignity in these settings, in the most perfect aesthetic way imaginable. It's very complicated, but the complication is the thrill. By making it so complicated, you become much more vulnerable in the process. You become much more emotional. You become much more passionate. You become much more obsessed. And in this, you show your soul. You show your humanity, and then you connect. And it's all about, you see them. They feel seen. And many of the pictures I make take days, days and days and days and days. But they're there, and it gets stronger. It's like a climax. There's an enormous amount of foreplay. And in the developed world, if you look into technology, you can take a picture with everything with this. You can spray and pray. It takes no effort. You can do it all automatically.
Well,
or you can go with an analog camera with a negative, which is this big, and make one picture. But that takes a lot of time. But that one picture, the investments you make for it is so much more profound and so much richer. And then you can show who you are without using language.
So tell us about the project now that you're working on, which is an educational thing that you have developed. Children can actually working with schools, you're working directly with parents, thinking of ways of keeping children entertained, right? And this is a perfect opportunity for them to understand these aspects of our civilization, of our humanity that are, you know, often not, you know, shown in school, perhaps.
The idea came, first of all, I get given a lot by these communities. So I believe very much I have to give more back. How do you give back? You give back by investing in them, spiritually, mentally, and financially. What they have, their culture is valuable for us, for them and for us. They will develop into the modern world, but not to throw their authenticity away. That's one aspect. Then the second aspect is here in the developed world. And we started to film everything with 360 cameras. You have to get on a plane. You don't have to spend money. But there is a way to connect and educate and inspire the newest generation in the developed world as to the validity of these indigenous cultures. It's the Cultural Ed, which is online and free. And for every single indigenous community I visited, children throughout the world in a multitude of languages can download an adventure, download education, download storytelling to deeper connect with how valuable these people are and how valuable they can be to us.
Absolutely amazing. Thank you so much, Jimmy Nelson. It was a pleasure speaking with you. Thank you very much.
Thank you ever so much for your time and your interest. Thank you.